Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and we are back with some highlights from the Gran Turismo World Series Round 2 in the Nations Championship. And we are in top split at Lego Major, the proper way round, and we're in the X 2019. Now one thing for this race was we had a custom slipstream which made it a lot easier to follow, and we also have a standing start which is always quite interesting. And yeah, as you can see, we got B Racer Gallo in front in P1 there. The lobby was pretty stacked with some very fast drivers in there. We didn't manage to get a brilliant lap in qualifying. I think we were right down the field, but you can see going through the field some very, very fast drivers that a lot of you all know very well. And yeah, it was going to be a very difficult race to get a result from, but I had to do something different. Now, we got called out in the live stream, people saying, don't do this, don't do this. I decided to start from P11, which is where we're starting from, obviously, but on the soft tyres. Now, everyone was saying go on the medium, go on the hard tyres, but I decided to take a risk and start on the soft tyre. Now the reason for that was you're going to get a better start, and if we start on hard tyres we'll just be following everyone else in front of us, and I wanted to do something different to try and get a result from this. So we're going to get a lot more grip than the cars in front. You can see straight away much better grip off the line. We're going to go down the left hand side and try and see if we can hold a tight line here. We've got so much more grip off the soft tyres, and now we're going to try and go round the whole way round the outside of these cars. And right, you can see better traction, giving us more speed going into this next corner, and I'm going to be able to send it in a lot quicker than them on the hard tyre. So straight away up to P7, then we go for the move up the inside here, just about losing the rear slightly, but he also lost the rear at the same point, and we're up into P6, and now we're following behind Kalster. Now Kalster probably knows that we're on the soft tyres. I think he was probably watching the live stream, probably knew that we're on the soft, so he's not going to fight this too hard. You can see there, up the inside and into P5. So far this strategy has actually worked out really well. Starting on the soft tyres, taking a risk, getting ourselves ahead of these hard tyre runners. We've got one more hard tyre runner in front of us. We can clearly see the wind is also on the hard tyres. You can see through the grip, through the corners, and also in the braking zones. And the main area you can tell is braking and traction. You'll see it straight away here. We can go a lot deeper on the brakes and close right up, and then on the traction area we've got a lot more traction, and that's pretty clear that the car in front of us is also on the hard tyres. Now we can see that the group in the lead are definitely on the soft tyres, so the top three are on the softs, and now we're going to go up the inside and put ourselves up to P4 in this race. Now obviously this isn't actually an actual P4 that we're in, because we know that the cars behind are all getting rid of their lap on the hard tyres, and some of them are probably on the medium tyres and stuff like that, so different strategies going on. But what this gave us now was a lovely clean track without any dirty air, although like I said before, this combination had a custom slipstream on, and it's something that I do not understand why it's not included in daily races. For example, this week's daily race C is basically ruined by the dirty air. It's a really fun combo to drive in terms of driving a lap around that track, but the amount of aero that you lose is just stupid. But in this race it had been reduced, which actually meant you could follow and actually battle with other cars. But you can see here, coming to the end of lap 4, and we've managed to boost that gap up to nearly 17 seconds to P5. Now that's not far off an actual pit stop, so it's showing you that this strategy is working quite well. But what we do need to factor in is we don't know what tyres the cars behind have gone on after going on the hard tyres. They could have gone onto the medium tyres and stuff like this, so they're probably going to go onto the soft tyres at the end and have all their pace towards the end, and then they're going to come back through and be fighting probably ahead of us by the end of the race. So I knew at this stage we're not actually in P4, but what I did know is that in clean air we're not going to be losing a stupid amount of times. The chance of crashing is a lot lower. One thing about this track was, in this car there were some very, very tricky curbs that could instantly fling you off. Going through here was one of them very, very dodgy. You got on that curb slightly wrong and you're in the wall there on the right hand side, and it was so easy to do that you had to just drive. I was trying to drive about 90% of what I knew I could do, just to make sure that we don't make mistakes, because like I say, this was a tricky combination. As you can see, as we're coming through here, we're going to get on the power, and as we're going through here, we're going to see the yellow flags up ahead, and this is what I'm talking about with regards to issues on this corner. You can see as we're coming through here, we've got yellow flags, and again, that curve that I just spoke about, it can take anyone out at any point without any warning, and that's why I was just trying to be a little bit more cautious with my driving on this race, and I think it's at the moment it's paying off quite well. You can see we're now up to P3 in this race, although I know that's technically not a P3, but it's still a nice position to be in, knowing that we've got no dirty air, we've got no one in front of us. And again, you can see coming up to lap 10, I'm now going to go in the pits following the strategy that B Racer Gallo is doing in the lead there. So 10 laps on the softs there, and then we're going to put the softs back on for another stint. Obviously doing that because I want to get ahead. I don't want to get back into traffic. I know that technically you could do a medium stint now and then go into the softs and then do the hard or something like that, or do one lap on the hard. But what I didn't want to happen is to be put back into any sort of dirty air, any sort of other cars, and start battling with other cars. This strategy was working quite well. We're on the soft tyre, we're back out into clean air. It might not be the quickest strategy for the whole race doing the 2 soft stints on the first 2 stints because your fuel is heavier, but in terms of getting away from everyone, it was working quite well. You can see there we've got Wind going in the pits after he's done his soft stint, after going on hard tyres at the start. So this is one of the reasons why I really do like these races, when you do have like all 3 tyres that are required in the race. So obviously for this race we had to do soft, medium and hard, and with it being a longer race it meant you could run double stint on the softs. You could technically do 1 stint on the softs, 1 stint on the mediums, 1 stint on the hard, and people are just doing different strategies, and it does always make the races a little bit more interesting because you don't actually know where you are in terms of positions, and I think it just makes it more enjoyable for people watching. It makes it more enjoyable when you're racing because you don't know if you've got the strategy right. I just think that we should have more races like this. A prime example was the Le Mans race we just did in Group 1. It was a similar length race, an hour long, but there was only 1 required tyre, and it was probably one of the most boring races I think we've had, and I think most people will agree. It just wasn't that exciting. It was just 1 stop, soft stint. There was no variety, there was no like unknown about what tyres people were on, and yeah, I think these races, when they're an hour long, make all 3 tyres usable and compulsory. It just makes for better racing, it makes for more enjoyable. Strategy calls, for example, the strategy I did at the start, knowing that people were going to be on the hard tyre, I go onto the softs, and it just makes things more entertaining. You can see here we're over halfway through the race now, and we've now got the car behind us about 1.6 seconds behind us, and we're just trying to keep him out of that slipstream range. So we've done a reasonable job with some lap 15 was a little bit scruffy. You can see they lost nearly 3/4 of a second there, which has given him the chance to get very close there. But as we come through here, keep an eye on the delta. Again, this is what we're talking about, just driving it safe, and you can see P4 has made a big mistake and has lost quite a bit of time there, and as we're going through here that gap is going to increase. So it just shows you just how easy it is to make little mistakes on this track, and that is the reason why we're taking it so calmly, not overdriving it. There was potential to do, we knew we could get into 1:30, like 1:30 lap times, but to push to get the 1:30 for me was pushing maybe taking a risk, and the chances of crashing would have been a lot higher if I was pushing to get into them 1:30. So yeah, taking it a lot safer. You can see now tyre wear started to really kick in now with the rears, you can see. So I'm going to play this ultra safe and straight in the pits. I could have got another lap out of them tyres. It was possible to do at least 1 more lap with them tyres, but I knew that that would give a higher chance of making a mistake and crashing. So I played it really safe. Again, TC on the exit with the medium tyres. Medium tyres take a couple of laps to warm up. So playing it super safe again here, just taking no risk, just trying to get a good result out of this. I was only going for 300 points from this round. 300 points was going to be a very good score for me at this combination. Most people will know Lego Major. It's not really my favourite. And yeah, the X 2019 takes a bit of getting used to. I think on a track that I prefer, like Spa or Fuji, I think this car could be quite interesting and quite enjoyable. But it's definitely not as enjoyable as it was on GT Sport. On GT Sport, this car was a little bit more fun to drive. However, it's better than it was at the start of the game. This car at the start of the game was lethal. It's a little bit more fun now, I would say. So yeah, it's not too bad. But you can see there, the leader's doing that extra lap. That is what I could have done. It would have been quicker by probably about a second over the lap. But the chance of losing the rear with the tyre wear, it really wasn't worth taking that risk for me. You can see there, we've got a nice comfortable gap now at the moment to P4. It's around 5 seconds. And we're just going to take it easy while we try and warm these tyres up. You can see I've still got track control on. We're taking that nice and safe. We're not going to take that off until I feel like the heat's back into the tyres. Again, that is something that you can do with the pit stop with these type of cars. The medium tyres coming out the pits, come out the pits a little bit cooler. So for example, the medium and hard tyres, that's why they last longer after you come out the pits, because the temperature is lower than at the start of the race. And when you start a race, you find that, for example, in a daily race, when you start, you find your tyres last better on the second stint. Half of that reason is because when you come out the pits, your tyres are at a temperature that's lower. It takes a lap to warm them up, so you don't get as much wear on them. So that is part of the reason. The other part is obviously fuel. Fuel's lower as well. But you can see here, on lap 25 now, we've kept that gap pretty solid. Only 3.3 behind us now, only a second and a half gained on this stint so far. It was 5 seconds before, so done a pretty solid job on these medium tires. You can see the lap time on lap 24 getting down to a 33.0. I knew there was more pace in these mediums. Again, I was slowly waiting for that grip to build up, and you could actually feel on lap 24 after the warming the tires up. You can see we've got no TC on now. We've turned that off. The grip is starting to come back to these medium tires. You can feel the grip coming in with the heat, and you can see lap 24 obviously went half a second quicker, and then this lap now we're definitely on a better lap through the first sector, and again you can feel the grip building up as we go through here, much stronger through here, and actually going pretty decent on this lap so far. And as we come through this sector, we're going to go only 6/10 down on the soft lap there through that sector split. Now we're going to lose a little bit through this right hander, for example, this banked corner. You're going to lose a bit versus the soft tyres, but overall these sub-medium tyres are definitely starting to feel grippier and better at this stage of racing. You see we're starting to push a little bit more. Now one thing I was having to be a little bit cautious of was my fuel. You can see there we've got 5 laps to go pretty much. You can see as we go through these corners it's going to say 5 laps to go just as we come out the exit of the corner, and we've got literally 5 laps to go. So I knew I had to be a little bit short shifting. We were doing it all the way through the medium stint, short shifting our way pretty much just to try and save a little bit of fuel. You can see I'm going into 7th gear very early just to make sure I've got the fuel, because I did use quite a lot on the early laps. However, I do think with the way the fuel works in this game, as your car gets lighter, the fuel economy becomes better, and it can trick you a little bit, but I was playing it super safe. I didn't want to take any risks. You can see lap 25 there, 32.4, so 1.2 seconds quicker than our first lap on the mediums. And obviously we've got a bit of wear on the tyre, but what's happened is they've warmed up and they're giving more grip now, so they're a lot more easy to drive. You can see down a 32.8, so again, still in the 32s, even though we've got the rear tyre wear starting to kick in these tyres now. And now we're on the last lap of these medium tyres, and you can see that P4 is getting very, very close to us, 1.7 back. But I know that all I've got to do here is just keep it calm, keep the car on the track, get on them hard tyres, make sure we put the traction control on the first lap, because we had only done a couple of laps on these hard tyres. We hadn't really practiced the hard tyre running, so I knew my pace was going to be a little bit dodgy when it came to using them hard tyres. So yeah, we're just going to try and get in them pits, get the hard tyres on, and take it very, very sensibly. You can see the gap back up to 2 seconds there, quite a good exit from the corner, and now working our way through the final boost. You can see Gallo into the pits there off the medium tyres also. He's going to go onto the hard tyres, so he's doing a similar strategy to us. But what we do know is that we've got Calster and Jack behind us. I wasn't sure where Matt was with regards to positioning on the track, but we knew that Calster and Jack were probably going to jump us. I'm not sure what's happened to Wind. He's obviously had a mistake somewhere and crashed or probably got damaged somewhere. But we're going onto the hard tyres, and this is going to be interesting. Are we going to be in the top 6? Because we're going for 300 points, and top 6 would easily be 300 points. And as we come out the pits, I was actually quite surprised to see that I was in P5 in this race, which is a very good position. We can see that Jack and Calster with their strategy have done a really good job. They're actually a little bit further ahead, and you know, they're 12 seconds down the road. But in a long race like this track I don't particularly enjoy. I feel like we've done a reasonable job here. Not a very good first sector there though. You can see on these hard tyres, really struggling for grip, really struggling to rotate the car. I've got traction control on, just getting no grip out of it at all. But again, we're going to take this super safe up to 4th gear really early there. We do not want to over rev this car with these cold hard tyres on. Again, through this sector, taking it nice and safe, still leaving the traction control on. I'm not going to turn that off because again, just out the pits, they're going to be very low on temperature, and they're going to be very prone to crash and spinning you. So again, we're going to go to the right side, back over to the left to try and break that slipstream a little bit. But you can see we've got 1 second to P6, and at the moment that looks like it's going to be good enough to get us home in P5. Just trying to play it really safe there, not getting too close to the curb. We don't want to spin. And now into these high-speed corners up here, through the right-hand corner, and then into the final sector to try and hold on for this P5. So just three more corners pretty much to go, keeping it nice and safe there, up into 4th gear, back down to 3rd gear. Then again, we're going to go into 4th gear for the exit just to make sure we don't get any wheel spin in 3rd gear there. And then into the final corner where we're just going to chuck it in there, just keeping that TC on, we're not turning it off. And we've got plenty of fuel there. You can actually see we still had half a lap of fuel, so it does show you that that fuel does kind of trick you a little bit. We could have pushed a little bit more on that medium stint, which would have gave me a little bit more of a buffer towards the end. But yeah, a P5 from P11 on the grid, that actually felt like a really good result. Taking a massive risk on the soft tyres at the start, gaining 6 positions in a top split EU race is definitely something that I was very happy with. And actually we got rewarded with some pretty nice points as well when we get back to the leaderboard. So going into the leaderboard, and we can see that we've come away with 300 and 43 points, which is a pretty decent score at a track that I don't particularly like. So yeah, very happy with that. Again, much preferred the custom slipstream at that start on the first lap. You could feel that you could actually push the car up behind cars. You could take speed into the corners, and I wish that PD would bring that into every single race, including daily races, because it's much more fun to be able to race other cars. But yeah, if you enjoyed that video, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and I'll be back with more of these highlights videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.